things going to progress the way that they need to, or do we need to take some other kind of action? And because I was so exhausted, that was the primary reason that we decided we ended up wanting to go to the hospital. But I was also losing a lot of blood, and because of those two things, we ended up deciding that was the best choice for us. So they ended up calling a couple hospitals, and there was actually the two closest hospitals and the ones that fell under my insurance were completely booked up. So we had to go all the way to Teal, which was about 32 minutes away. And so I had to get dressed, and we got kind of packed up and went to the hospital. And the car ride there was complete living hell. It was so bumpy and all the curves and turns, but it was really, really bad. But thank God our midwife was willing to take us to the hospital. But yeah, so we really lucked out with that, but it was really not a nice experience for me. So once we got to the hospital, we got checked into our room, and this is the face of happiness. So we got checked into our room, and at this point everything was even more intense, so it just keeps progressing, and just more pain and more intensity. And I really, really wanted pain medication at this point, because I hadn't had any besides the birth pool, which is like, that's not medication, but the warmth is supposed to be, help with pain relief. But since I wasn't in the pool anymore, it was, I wasn't even having that relief. And so we were at the hospital, and they were basically kind of just doing paperwork and looking at my passport and that kind of stuff. And so I'm just laying there like thinking, I don't know, I had this idea that we were gonna get turned away for some reason, like they're not gonna help some crazy American that just shows up at the hospital. I don't know why, but I was really scared at this point, and I think I even asked Sebe, like, are they gonna turn us away? Like, are we gonna have to leave? And he was like, no, it's gonna be fine. And so thank goodness that was true. Next, I think they checked me, and I was actually 10 centimeters dilated. And at that point, I was just like so much in misery. And they very happily told me, well, you're 10 centimeters. Like, are you good? Do you feel like you can push? And I said, I don't know. What does that feel like? And yeah, so they basically ended up deciding that I needed an oxytocin drip, and that would help to keep things moving. So then maybe I had the energy to push. So they did that, and they were monitoring both of us. And yeah, after the oxytocin drip, everything escalated a lot more quickly. And but I was really, really uncomfortable being on my back, and that's how they were wanting me to push. So that was really not a nice experience. But yeah, after some time of pushing, after I felt like I never really felt like I had the urge to push. Like, people always say, like, I don't know, they have this intense urge, but I really didn't have that at all. I was just listening to what the doctors and nurses were saying around me, that I how to do it and how I needed, what it felt like. But yeah, I don't know, I never had that urge. I just did what they said to do, and it ended up working, I guess. But I ended up having to have an episiotomy, because my the doctors and nurses were saying that his heart rate was going down a little bit, which apparently is really common. Like, right before they are birthed, their heart rate goes down. But yeah, they were just concerned, and they said he really needed to be born right now. And so they decided on the episiotomy, and I just, at that point, like, so many things that I wanted were out the window, and I just wanted to be done. Like, I was just so over the pain, and I just was ready to have my baby. I wanted to have my baby in my arms and the pain to be done. And so I was not gonna fight anything that was gonna get me there. So the episiotomy happened, and don't even remember the pain of that at all. And then I just remember basically very quickly after the episiotomy, my baby was being handed to me. And yeah, there's nothing in the world like the experience of seeing your child for the first time, and just, yeah, the rush of emotion, the rush of love, and yeah, just everything all at once. It was just incredible. It was such a beautiful experience, and yeah, I just immediately started crying and just feeling all the love that I possibly could. I don't know, it was just beautiful. And it was all worth it at that point. It's just crazy because I kind of experienced labor like getting as close to death as possible without actually dying. That's really what it kind of felt like for me. But then at the point of being handed to him, it was like being as close to heaven as you possibly can. Like, you experience both extremes so intensely and so deeply. And yeah, it's just complete bliss after that. And he was perfect. He was crying immediately, but he had apparently kind of a worrisome cry. It didn't sound as, full as they wanted it to, so they were a little worried about his lungs, but it ended up being okay, and they just kind of patted him on his back a little bit more, and they were observing it a bit more, but he ended up being totally fine. They weren't worried at all by the end. So he was actually born at 10:40 a.m. and we went home by, I think, 3 p.m. So yeah, we were really happy to be able to go home, and I was just in such bliss of not feeling pain anymore at that point. Like, I was uncomfortable because I had to get stitches, and there's a lot of, it's exhausting, so you're just sore all over, but that's nothing compared to being in labor. And yeah, so I was just, we were just so blissed out at this point. Yeah, it was an awesome ride home. It was the most beautiful day. It was so sunny, and he was just so content, and the whole car ride home he just slept, and yeah, it was just, bliss from then on, I guess. One thing that I regret is that I didn't do skin on skin. Like, I was wearing a tank top at the time, didn't do skin on skin immediately, and I didn't really know the impact of like trying to breastfeed immediately. There was just so much happening around me, and like, I don't know, I wasn't told to breastfeed at all while I was at the hospital. I just was on my own, like, should I try breastfeeding now? And I think that was more than an hour later after he was born. And I think if I could do it again, I would do both of those things immediately. I would just be bare chested, and I would try to feed him like literally immediately. We are not able to latch him. The first week and a half, I was able to latch him quite a few times. So he was able to get the colostrum. After a while, we ended up being able to hand express that and give it to him through syringes. But his latch was always different. It was always difficult. I was never, it always took a long time to establish a good latch, and it was always super painful for me. Ended up after, I think, the second week, we decided to try to start bottle feeding because it was taking more than an hour to get him latched a lot of times, and I was just exhausted from trying to latch him. My arms were so much in pain. And we just decided that it was kind of exhausting, both of us. So I started pumping and bottle feeding him, and he was a lot happier then, and he wasn't so exhausted from trying and all his effort. And so we really wanted him to start properly gaining weight at that point as well. We didn't want him to be losing any weight, and he was just expelling so much energy trying to breastfeed that it was just too much, and it was too much for both of us. So I was pretty devastated by this because my heart was so set on breastfeeding. And I didn't even want to pump ever. I wanted to just always, even for the first, however long I breastfed, I wanted to just be around him often enough to always just breastfeed him. And so that, going into things, it's funny how, you have an idea of how you want things to go. I had such, clear picture of what I thought was right and what I thought I needed to do. But it's funny how when you're really in it and when you're, becoming a parent, you are so humbled by what really ends up happening, I think. And I really needed that, I think. I needed to be humbled by this experience. So many ideas that I thought how things could go and how things should be, and they were completely off for me. They weren't how things were for me. And now that I think about it, like, I'm kind of happy that I had such a different experience to what I actually wanted, because if I would have gotten everything that I wanted, I think I wouldn't be as understanding now of other parents and how they end up having to handle things. And through this experience, I learned that however you have to feed your baby is it's okay, as long as your baby's being fed. And however your birth experience goes, whether it's horrible, whether it's complete bliss, like, it's all okay. And it's, as long as your baby's healthy, and that's what matters. I don't know, I feel like I just learned more of what matters, like what truly matters to me, and that, sure, the steps along the way, make for a better or worse experience, but all in all, like, what really matters at the end of the day is that, you're healthy and you're happy, and, all the little things in between, don't necessarily equate to happiness. And just being loving towards others and doing the best you can is really all you really need. And so anyway, that was my birth experience. We're healthy and happy, and he is blissfully asleep right now. Oh goodness. Yeah. But anyway, if you guys have any questions or comments or anything, I'd love to hear it. Yeah, hopefully more videos to come with him involved. Yeah, will be in the future. So let me know what you thought of this video. I love this face so much. It's just, so happy. All right, we'll see you next time. Bye.